Hi, everybody. Welcome to Pedagogies Beyond. We're just waiting for everybody to stream in now. If you turn over to the live comments section, you can definitely type in a hello and let us know you're here, and we'd love to hear all about you, okay? Hi, everyone. Again, welcome to Pedagogies Beyond. We're going to start in just a little while. We're just waiting for more people to stream in live now. And as I said, we have our live comments section. And if you'd like to say hello in the live comments and chat with us, we're more than happy to hear from you. So just sit back, relax, and we'll begin shortly. Hi, Din Chan. Nice to see you. Thank you for being here with us on a Wednesday night. Hi, Valerie. Thank you for being here. Hello, Karen, again. Hi, Amanda. And hello, Daisy. Hi, Daisy. I definitely know you, Daisy. I hope everybody's had a wonderful day today. It was really rainy and cozy, and I stayed in all day, being responsible as I can be during phase 2. So if you've already entered our room via StreamYard and you'd like to say hello, I totally welcome your hellos via the chat, live comment device. It's just been really nice to hear from you today. Hi, Shiyun. Good evening. So we're just going to start in 3 more minutes. Hi, Chloe. Nice to see you. Well, at least read your words. Thank you. No, Karen, I didn't. Strange thing is that I have a Frida Kahlo obsession, but I've never bought anything of Frida Kahlo. So people have given me, someone gave me this painting, I have her books, I've got her pillow covers. So everybody, I seem a bit mad, but I swear I've never bought or purchased anything of Frida Kahlo with my own money. Yeah, but it's a good one. So we've got a nice little group in tonight. That's really nice. If anyone else would like to chat via the live comment section, you can please do that, because unlike Zoom, we can't see your faces. So it'd be really nice to hear from you. Hi, Shamir. That's a beautiful name you have, Shamir Bismillah. It's very wonderful. I suppose most of us in the chat are from Singapore. Hello, Shivani. Thank you for being here with us tonight. We're just going to start in a minute. We're just waiting on a few more people to rock up. Oh, you're welcome, Shamir. I've never heard of a surname Bismillah before. It's really, really wonderful. But I suppose Karen Denise De Silva is Eurasian like me, right? I'm a Harrison, but my mother is a Rodriguez, and my father is a Harrison. Okay, we should be starting in about 1 minute. We have a wonderful speaker tonight. I can't wait for her to share her wonderful projects with you. Okay, I think we might be good to start. All right, so thank you so much, everybody, for being here tonight and for joining us. Welcome to Pedagogies Beyond. This is a public engagement series from the MA Arts Pedagogy and Practice program at LaSalle College of the Arts, where I'll be graduating from soon. In fact, I just submitted my thesis, so I'm very, very, very excited to graduate. So my name is Sharda Harrison, and I am your host and moderator for today. This is the first time we're doing a Facebook Live event, and it's an event to engage more audience in the arts community. So again, thank you so much for being here with us today. Now, at this point, I'd like to invite the program leader, my lecturer during my time at LaSalle, Dr. Edmund Chow, to perhaps share a few words on Pedagogies Beyond and what it means for us. Thank you, Dr. Edmund.
Thank you very much, Sharda. Can I be heard? Yeah?
Yes, you can.
Okay, good. Thank you. I'm really excited to do our first live streaming event. So allow me to contextualize this. I'm Edmund Chow, the program leader with the MA Arts Pedagogy and Practice. This is a master's degree program at LaSalle College of the Arts, and it uniquely brings artists and arts educators from all the different disciplines, from dance, theater, music, to fine arts, design, film, literary arts, and curatorial practice, with a focus on the philosophies and pedagogies related to teaching and learning. So we started the Pedagogies Beyond Public Engagement series because, number one, we realized that many of us are working in silos, and this series seeks to bring artists and educators together to have a conversation with each other, and to network and to find potential collaborations for interdisciplinary kind of work. Number two, I think this series also seeks to bring in overseas professors and guest artists locally to share their best practices within arts education and or offer provocations, right, for us to consider. This is especially important for me and for all of us, I think, because we need to be more experimental and more courageous to develop new ways of teaching and learning in the arts. So today we're very pleased to have Shiyun with us because of her rather non-traditional approach to engaging children in residential estates, which I believe will help us think a lot more about our relationship with our work in communities. So Sharda, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Edmund Chow. And for those of you that haven't seen Dr. Edmund Chow in the past month, he's become 2 sizes smaller. So it's almost like it's almost like seeing a whole new lecturer. Okay, but thank you so much. Today's topic is a very interesting one where we will have Lin Shiyun from 3 Pumpkins to share her project with us. The topic is playground rules, engaging children through free play in the neighborhood, something I'm very, very interested in. Now, a bit about Shiyun. She's the creative director of 3 Pumpkins, a socially engaged arts company that believes in creating inclusive arts-based performance on platforms that build positive relationships and community resilience. Her work entails working with artists to find collaborative common ground among people, public, and private sectors for the benefit of social and emotional well-being for the community. Today, her project that she's going to talk about is by, of course, her company, Three Pumpkins, which received a 2-year research grant from the National Arts Council from 2019 to 2020 to develop a toolkit for community engagement and development through the arts. In this public lecture, she will be sharing about the project Let's Go Play Outside. I love that name. And this is an inclusive platform that connects diverse and underreached communities in estates with rental flats. The project uncovers issues of social isolation, discrimination, and bullying amongst children who have fallen through the gaps, including those from transnational families requiring social support. By leveraging on the playground as a natural social locus, the project establishes a regular routine through arts and play, and from it builds community resilience. So far, the Let's Go Play Outside has reached out to over 600 children, families, and volunteers in Toa Payoh, Boon Lay, and Lengkok Bahru. But before I bring her on, let's do some housekeeping rules here. Now, please feel free to ask any questions you want at any time during the presentation, which is fairly not quite normal. During a live presentation, you can't just ask any question you want. But we really encourage you, if you have questions during the presentation, write them in the live comment section. But please note, we won't be able to answer your questions until after Shiyun's presentation is over. Also, if you do get logged out due to connectivity issues, just come back into facebook.com/artspedagogy and practice. Okay, now the moment we have all been waiting for. Without further ado, please give a round of, I think it's how you give internet applause. Give a round of applause to Shiyun. Nice to have you, Shiyun.
Hello.
Hi.
This is like magic show, you know. Feels like magic show.
No, when we did the NAC arts community,
yes.
we did this, right? And on Zoom, you can actually click that hands clapping button.
Yes, yeah. I guess everyone can post an emoji on the comments or something. I'm not sure how this works.
Anyway, I'm very, very excited for your lecture today, which is about play and playgrounds. And I kind of actually want to involve the audience as well at some point to ask them about if they remember any playground rules they had during their childhood. Do you think that might be a good idea?
Yeah. I think it's good. I think when we work with children, we always think, I think for me, it's always to think back. When I was a child, how did I play? And, oh, Hannah is here. Oh, hi. Yeah. I think when we engage children, for me often is to think, what was it like when I was a child? So when I was a child, I played outside every day. So I have a group of friends. We meet at maybe 4 o'clock every day. And there's always some, rules, I guess, in the playground.
Rules that were created by the children themselves, or like known
Maybe
public rules?
Open it to the ground, yes.
Yeah, let's open it to the ground. Let's bring Edmund on as well. Ask him what his, if he remembers any of the rules during his childhood.
Hi, I'm back. I remember I used to, that's a good question. I used to live in Bukit Merah. So that's a really old residential area. We don't really have rules, but I remember we were, when we were growing up, I lived on the 12th floor. And what we did was, there was this electrical, behind the pillar, there are these electrical casing where if you hit, it sort of echoes. So that is almost like our base. And then we would do catching, right? We call it catching, but we know it's called tag now. But we're just supposed to run everywhere in the entire block, and we're supposed to catch each other. And then once you go back to home base, and you'll be safe. So that was interesting. But the rules sort of, as long as you go back to home base, you are safe. But once you're sort of outside the home base, the catcher can touch you, and then you are the pasang guy, right? The person who's going to catch the other person. But what was interesting from my experience was also, I remember we were very naughty. when we were running around, we started knocking on neighbors' doors. just to tell them that we were playing, but it was very rude of us at that time.
Oh, wow.
How big was your play group?
I can't remember. I think it depends on who the neighbors. I mean, at that time, how many neighbors were there? I think it was about seven of us.
So the size changes, yeah?
Yeah, it depends on whenever we finish school or that kind of thing, and then we just gather together. But we ran up and down the entire block.
Yes, I do that too. So I stay in a place which is more like, it was an old condominium, so it's like 2 blocks as it's fenced up. So it was pretty safe that way. So we ran everywhere also between these 2 blocks. Yes, yeah.
Oh, right.
Sharda?
Wow. Yeah, I'm just looking at what Cynthia has written. She said, I never had rules when playing. I'm just trying to backtrack my memory. I mean, it was just me and my neighbor. We lived in a terrace house, and I guess we always crawled through drains and our backyard. And then I cut a hole in the fence between her backyard and mine. So obviously those are rules we made that we didn't ask our parents about. So but I think the rules were just between the 2 of us. So it was like, a lot of imagination was involved, and yeah, it was just lovely those times. I don't think does anybody else from our audience remember any sort of rules that you had when playing? I think everybody's trying to maybe
remember.
It was
yeah.
I think it depends on the game, right? Because when we moved beyond the catching and we started playing with marbles, obviously there were rules. So we had to draw using a chalk to draw a circle, and then there were marbles inside. And then we drew another line across the space, and then we had to stand behind the line and shoot the marble out of that circle. So that was my childhood kind of a memory in terms of playing just on the same floor.
Yeah. We've got Savita who says, I remember putting up a performance with a friend for other friends. And actually, I relate to that. Like in my childhood, it was just always one performance after another performance. And there were so many rules about the girls have to play this character, the boys had to play that character. So we had gender rules already at a young age, you see.
Yes, I think I'm also thinking about the rules that's not within the game only, but at the playground. For instance, perhaps there is a rule like, I think it's very standard for the playground is that boys don't play with girls.
Yes.
that kind of rules. I don't know. I think in my play group, the gender divide is not that strong. Yeah, we kind of play together. Yeah. Or in some cases, maybe older children has a certain control over things. Younger kids are not supposed to do something. Is that kind of rules that we can also think about, Yeah.
Just one more from Shuyun Chan. There are different age groups and cliques. Generally, she stayed within the same groups. Interesting. Yes. Okay, I think on that note, shall we invite Shuyun to start to share her sharing?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I will share my screen to my PowerPoint. Are we good? Yes. Okay. So playground rules. So we're talking about what are the playground rules that we remember as a child. So we start off with talking about the rules in the game, but we also looking at what are the rules that actually governs how individual behaves or how groups behave. So that's the rules that I'm looking at when I work in the community. So the work scope I have basically is that I go into a neighborhood, usually is a rental flat estate, and basically stay there for a while. I think at least a year to 3 years. And we create a routine where we meet the children every week or every 2 weeks. And then from there, we understand how they behave and what are the kind of social dynamics. Then we think of how we can intervene and co-create certain new norms with the community. Yeah. So playground rules, I would say that there is actually no rules. like what Cynthia say. But there's also rules. So in the sense that children don't come into a space and say that, the rule number one is that you need to do this and that and that. Unlike in the classroom, when you welcome children to or students into a space, or even now that we are in this space, basically you are entering a space and there are certain house rules. Playground rules, there are rules, but it's not spoken. So you don't come in and then you see a board and there's rule 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It doesn't work that way. So playing is actually very important for children, because when you go down to the playground, you have to kind of feel the rules. So that's something like being street smart, right? You have to observe who are there, what you can say, what you can do, what you cannot do. Point 2, rules are very specific to the space and the people in that space. Edmund shared that he stayed in a very old neighborhood. So that neighborhood actually, or the environment, will determine what are the rules, because depending on the history of that space, whether that space is safe for children to run around, in the context now is that I basically work in 3 neighborhoods. So I've experience in 3 neighborhoods: in Toa Payoh, in Lengkok Bahru, and in Boon Lay. So in Lengkok Bahru is basically Red Hill area. This area is there's an old history in it. That means there are some people who have stayed there for 50 years, over 50 years. But there are also newcomers coming into the space. So you see that the families, the children are very different. And therefore, that kind of dynamics will govern some kind of rules at the playground. Point 3, when we go into the playground and observe what are the rules or the norms actually, or how the children behave, is very reflective of the individual, what kind of confidence level he or she have, and what are the group dynamics. So we basically read these things when we enter the neighborhood and look at the norms. Yeah. Okay, the work. I'll start with how we enter the playground. This is a question that I always get. How do you actually go in, and how do you engage? So this is the first time I did Let's Go Play Outside. This is in Toa Payoh in 2016. So basically the entry into a neighborhood is quite simple. First is to do a certain kind of disruption of space. So you create for me, I brought a big scroll of paper. This basically disrupt a certain norm, because you don't use public space like that as an individual. We usually see something like that in an organized mass event, but not from an individual capacity. So that attracts some kind of attention. So it's a big scroll with paint that's left over from art project. And I always use paint for the children to express themselves. There's no rules of what they can draw or cannot draw. But I basically limit the paint to 2 colors, so that doesn't go all brown. Because basically if you give them 4 colors, you get brown in the end. And you can't really see the drawing, which is important. Yeah. So from here, we get to read the individual. So for instance, that little girl sitting in the paper was actually very timid at first to even make a stroke. So I brought her inside the paper to draw this and draw a circle around her. So this is a very one-to-one kind of engagement. And we can read the individual child from their drawing or how they draw. This is another neighborhood. So this is in Boon Lay in 2018. Similarly, I enter with this big scroll. As you can see, this is a very big group now, because I think we become more experienced. So we have a volunteer, Adeline, who went around and knocked on doors to get children to come down. And basically, we just say, come down and play. So I was very surprised that the first time I come here, there's such a big group of children. So beside reading the individual, and there's a lot of individual to read, there's also reading the group. How does this group talk to each other? So I think in the drawing, I remember there was something like owe money, pay money, and then they like to draw sexual organs, reproductive organs, which I never stopped them, but to read it together with them. It's like, oh, this person drew this, and what is this? There is no sense of rejection. We just talk about it and then play with it at some point. So I would just draw, another few lines around it and then transform that drawing into something else. So working with them to articulate why is it that they are drawn to certain images, and through this drawing, the children realize that they can express very freely. So that's when you can engage in a very authentic sense. So I do get from this session somebody coming to tell me and ask me, why is it that you ask the Malay kids to come here and play with the Chinese kids? I got this question twice in this session, one from a kid and also one from adult. Yeah. So this basically it just sends it's a very strong message that there is some sort of divide in this neighborhood. And then for me, the question is, how do I address it later on? Yeah. Yeah, so you can see this in this neighborhood, children play very differently with paint compared to in Toa Payoh. So then the question is, why is it that they play this way? Is it because of school culture? Is it because they feel they know each other better? So this sort of different readings that you can get when you do a very open-ended kind of free play in the first session. So another of the first session, this is in Lengkok Bahru. In Lengkok Bahru, this is 2019. So in terms of practice, I'm even more confident. So we didn't try the big scroll this time. I was with Fares Najib, who was also working with me as a facilitator. So we tried to open up a space using a ball of raffia string, basically to tie the string from one tree to the other tree. Because I noticed that in this neighborhood, and the environment is designed in a way there's a lot of circular kind of thing. Yeah. So I was thinking, how do we connect space in Lengkok Bahru? Yeah, playground. So we got the children to work with each other to tie the strings around. And I think drawing is always still a very important thing in the first session, so that we can read this drawing and understand them. And again, yeah, we allow, well, not allow, I mean, there's never instructions. Yeah, in that sense, no rules. So here is Cynthia and Lei Hun. They are from South Central Community Family Service Center, which I was working with in Lengkok Bahru, just to basically improvise and play along with the materials that we bring. Usually are very simple materials. Then we see drawings from the children. How I present the question to them is that, is there something you would like to show your neighborhood? What would you like to show your neighborhood? A drawing that you would like to show the neighborhood. So most of them actually went for self-portrait. Yeah. But there's also, you can see a lot of Marshmallow Man. The Marshmallow Man is like a popular icon. I'm not very sure now also. But that was when I learned about the Marshmallow Man and what the children are watching on YouTube or TikTok. Okay, so in after the first session, the subsequent session actually is continuous reading actually of what are the dynamics or what the individual express, yeah, and also surfacing some unspoken rules or norms. For instance, like we're saying, gender divide, boys don't play with girls, or some in a neighborhood like in Toa Payoh, girls tend to be very timid and boys are very angry, but they don't actually, they are not quite aware of these things that actually affects them or how they behave. So and I don't approach it in the way that let's have a town hall, let's sit together and talk about anger management. I personally feel that doesn't work with kids. I like to find a way that is through games to help them see that this is happening, and whether or even if they don't see that it's happening, we can actually change this kind of negative vibes. Yeah. So this is the second session in Boon Lay. Again, I brought a familiar material, the big scroll. So the children were very excited, so they all came back. So maybe they thought, they can get messy with paint again. So I told them that the activity today is to draw a full portrait, of yourself and your friends, and you have to say something nice about each other. Because that's why I realized that they actually speak with a lot of vulgarity, and they were always insulting each other. So my kind of instruction, yes, was that can you say something nice to each other? At first, it was very difficult for them. And they were always laughing and giggling. Saying something nice is not a norm at playground, especially for boys, But they were very good. They tried. So we have something like this. Yeah. Harish can make people smile and make people happy. He even wrote, "I'm kind." So this is something that is very unusual for them. And I think they were, yes, enjoying it. So after that, they could paint on it, fill in the paint for each other. So this is actually what happened from here was very interesting, is that actually a big fight happened. So someone was painting his own portrait, and then another gang came into this space and basically whacked this guy up. And they are like older kids. They were maybe upper primary or lower sec, I'm not quite sure. So there was a big fight, and they were arguing in Malay. So usually when the kids do not want me to know what's happening, they will speak in their own lingo. And I don't quite understand Malay so well. So in this group, there are the smaller children. There are also the older kids. So to kind of control the fight, I basically get the smaller children away lah. I don't know. Smaller children tend to come in, and then they want to join in without knowing what's happening. Boys' fight is very common at the playground, and how I handle it is that usually I let it happen. As long as it doesn't get too bad. Yeah. So what happens after that intensity of that fight subsided? I went in, I tried to facilitate again, and that's when they start to speak to me in English. So that's opened up again. Then I realized that this other gang came in and whacked this person because he is too nice. So they were provoked by this activity. So they say that he is too nice. That's why he is betrayed by his friend. That's why his mother left him. And then we realized that his mother left him a week ago. So what happened after that is that the boy broke down, was crying. Then he went home and left his painting half unpainted on the floor. So me and the younger children was just looking at it and thinking what to do. Then the smaller kids told me it's really poor thing, so we should help him finish his portrait, and they know where he lives and bring it back to him. So that's the one on the left. Yeah, not Rishi. Rishi is another guy. That portrait on the left. So so the younger kids helped him complete it, and we brought it up to his house, to his unit. Being boys, of course, you're like, okay lah, thank you. But I guess something changed. I think what changed also is that we kind of change a rule or norm that, older children tend to, brush the younger children aside. But this is actually we subvert it, this is the other way around. So the younger children are able to take care of you too. So that changed something, I think. Yeah. Okay. Okay. This is in Toa Payoh. So another story that I like to share with you in Toa Payoh. In Toa Payoh, I realized that I was mentioned just now, the boys and girls, there's a kind of divide, and the girls tend to be very timid, while the boys have a lot of anger issues. So when I see that, then I started to bring in different facilitators. So this is let me try to. Sorry, I can't. He's from Altamis Fitness. I'll get his name back in. Sorry, I can't remember now. So he does obstacle course. He trains for Ironman challenge, you know. So he's like kind of a sportsman sort of personality and a role model lah. I guess for a lot of boys in this estate, they need this role model. That is not like a school teacher because he won't scold you. I just speak to you in a very firm way and challenge you in certain way. So I thought the boys need that. And that cannot come from me. So I have to bring someone else in. Yeah. I also brought in young men who can play soccer very well to play with the boys. And through playing soccer, to talk about behavior, yeah, or to train certain behavior. As for the girls, we do have this session where it's like a role-playing session. It's about role-playing the story of Sang Nila Utama. So basically it's something that we come out together with the kids. I don't know how it came about, but through certain games, we kind of decided that there's one team who play the animals and there's one team who play the soldiers. And they have a fight and to see whether the animals are able to cast a magic spell to overturn the ship so that Sang Nila Utama and his army are not able to come to Singapore. Kind of story, yeah. So we have little girls who this little girl is standing. She can't read. She's in primary 2, but she's very confident. You know, it's just that she knows she's not literate. So we encourage her to stand up and speak. And then there's Regina. Regina is a theatre practitioner who will just whisper in her ear while she reads. Yeah, and I think this was a presentation day. We brought in a microphone. So the microphone was like the thing for the girls. You know, it was like something that they found a lot of confidence when they have the mic, when they hear their voice in the neighborhood. So this is another girl who was reading the script. Yeah, so we basically give the girls a voice in the sense that they can hear their voice. I think it was very simple. It was as simple as that. So I felt that after this session, there was when the girls started to shine. You know, they can speak louder. They will say that we are the girl gangs. You know, they will walk around in groups. Because neighborhoods can be quite scary for little girls to walk around in, when they are not in, when they don't have their own support system, because you get either teased by boys, older men, and we have seen that before. So in the work, we actually have to create a kind of community of support for the children, So because I cannot be there all the time, I'm only there once a week. So the peer learning and peer support is very important in this work. So what one of the things that I remember very clearly was that after 2 years, so this gang of girls, I think there were 4 of them, were walking. It was about 8 o'clock. Then there was this random person, older person, who came in and scolded one little girl. Hey, how come you're so fat and still eating, that kind of thing. Then the other girl just stood up and said, hey, you don't fat shame my friend. So I was very shocked to hear that. I think this wouldn't have happened if they didn't have this process of building a kind of friendship. And I think from there is when I start to get to know the term like community resilience. Nowadays community building and development is very popular and trendy. When I was doing the work, I actually didn't even really know this term, but I just knew that it was important for the children. Yeah. Okay. Another story, case study. This is in Boon Lay. What was one of the thing that we discovered in Boon Lay is that it's super multicultural, right? And multiracial. You have children from transnational family, from especially mothers from other Southeast Asian country, and also from China, India, Bangladesh. So that actually complicates the group dynamics even more. It's not just like the Malay, Chinese, Indian. It's even more diverse and even more minorities. So we discovered during one of the sessions is that one boy was not being accepted in the group. They say that he is not part of us. He is Bangladeshi, yeah, but he's studying in Singapore. So then we asked the children, why do you think that he is not part of us, and who actually owns this space? Who governs this space? Why do you think you can say that he's not part of us, and who is us? For the children, the immediate response was, yeah, the playground belongs to the government. So then I was thinking, okay, how do we surface this thing? Who has ownership over this thing? So I got them to go to the nearby mini mart, and this is the nearby mini mart is a fixture in all this neighborhood. So cardboard is always very easily available. So I just asked them to go and get some cardboard. Then we brought it back, cut it into pieces. And I said, okay, this is your name card. So everybody write your name. Whoever is present, you have to write your name. So including the facilitators, including myself, write the name and put it on the railing or put it on all over the playground. So whoever come, I will give them a cardboard and they will write their name and put it up there. So this boy who was rejected at first also wrote his name and put it on the railing. So the next time when he's rejected again, so I told the group, look, his name is here. He is part of the playground. He's part of us. And very strangely, the children was like, oh, okay. And that was it, that seems to satisfy them. And then from then on, the boy just kept on coming back and play with us. His name is Josh. Yeah, so while it sounds like every session is very serious, but it's not like that, yeah. Mostly every session is just a lot of silliness and then do a lot of nonsensical thing. Using materials which are very readily available. Like I say, cardboard, we can always get a lot of cardboard. So we always play that. And just a few rows of masking tapes. Yeah. Using, this is like, I think we were making a map here, just using paper. Yeah. These are things that I salvaged from art exhibition. So I also initiated that forum called Art Don't Throw. Then people exchange things when, like trash, or after an art exhibition, you have a lot of stuff, and where do you go? So I salvage these things. Some things then we repurpose them at Let's Go Play Outside. So on the right, these PVC pipes, they're actually little parts of a very, very huge installation. So I kind of brought things to the playground, and the children recreated costumes out of them. On the left, those are plastic bag yarns that that was left over from a performance called the Rubbish Prince. So we always salvage things and then we just bring to the playground and say, oh, what can we do with it? It's very material informed in that sense. That means there's no lesson plan. Even if I bring a pair of socks, I always say that, bring a pair of socks to the playground and ask the children, what can we play with this? I'm sure there are a lot of ideas, and it's always been proven that they can improvise the best when there's actually not that much resources. So, okay, some other games that we play and it's improvised. At some point, sometimes I will go into the playground thinking that I want to do something, right? Because I bring a material, and it doesn't happen because something happened at the playground. For instance, on the left, where you see many color masks, the rainbow mask. When I arrived at the rainbows, the children told me that a group of boys are hiding, playing with fire. So how do I deal with it? I say that, okay, then ask them to come out. We're going to do a marshmallow barbecue here. Then they say, really can? I say, yeah, just call them out. So then I got them to go and get a packet of marshmallow. So the whole session basically didn't turn out as planned. Didn't use any of my material. We talk about fire, we talk about roasting marshmallow and things like that. So it's very responsive also to the situation. On the right is my favorite game. We had the who has the longest name competition, because I was trying to find out how can I actually, because the children, this is in Boon Lay, are from such different backgrounds. What is a fun way to collect data at some point, right? So we had the who's the longest name competition, and then we count the letter. Oh, you have 24 letters, you know. And where's your name come from? I mean, why is your name so long? Why is your name so short? And so from there we get to know each other. Yeah. Sometimes we have performance from the community. This is Dr. Uncle. Sometimes we have performers. This is Roy Payamal coming to perform for the whole group of us. Yeah. So you see, this is about a year later. I think about a year later. So we have a kind of a sizable crowd line in that sense, or actually community after a year. That's not only children, but also including seniors who have a slight dementia, because they like to play with children. And then we also started to include them, to fly aeroplanes, that kind of thing. Sometimes we have like even bigger performance. This is Rubbish Prince, produced by Three Pumpkins. Rubbish Prince was commissioned by National Arts Council for Arts in the Neighborhood. But when I conceptualized it with theatre director Danny Yeo, the heart was always with the neighborhood. We wanted to create a show that can go to every neighborhood easily and transform the space. Yeah. So when we did this, is usually co-created with the community when we set up. For instance, we will have some kind of props that we need to do together with the children or even the seniors a few weeks before the show. And when we are setting up the show, we always involve the community to do things like front of house, to set up chairs. Usually we don't have much chairs. We just use whatever we can find in the neighborhood. So it's very street wayang. There's no stage. And everything we have to do by ourselves. If we cannot, then we ask the community to help. Okay, the next part of the work is actually more on how we co-create, because like I said before, the community support, building community support is very important in the work, and peer learning. So how do we co-create so that we can create new rules in that sense, or new norms, and then a new sense of identity to this community that we have built. So a lot of times we use the materials that the children or whoever actually wants to contribute. So over here you see there is the boy drawing. So we basically turn this drawing into Let's Go Play Outside logo. Yeah. Some activities are, because the children, after a while, they realize how they can contribute, or how their contributions are actually never rejected. Lessons in that sense, or activities are actually, they can actually lead the activities, and I'm very happy for them to do so. Happier because I have less work to do. So we have this case on the left where the
I need your phone.
My son. Later, okay?
I need something.
Sorry, hold on.
Come. I need your phone.
Zai, can you please help me? I'm having a
All right. Wait. I love things at home because it just brings us back to real life, right?
Yes, it's not at home. Okay, I'm back. Yes. So on the left, basically what happened then was that I went into the playground and I realized that children had set up a tuition center in the playground with cardboard boxes, and it was it looks very makeshift, but there's a lot of thought that went to it. So they lay the floor, they have shoe shelves and things like that, because at that time we were also thinking of how can we do a bit of study and play. So we had like a 1 hour study followed by let's go play outside. So the children basically initiated, and they say, hey, we can build our playground tuition center here. And I think that was actually the most memorable, I think it was a milestone for me, because children actually initiated something. Yeah, and they built something. Yeah. On the right, this is in Boon Lay. We had the rubbish squad. This is actually not a rubbish prince. This was, we're thinking that there's a littering problem in the neighborhood. There's a lot of rubbish everywhere. So one day, I don't know, I had a trolley, I had a box. Then we say, why don't we just do something about it? Oh no, I didn't say that. The children say that. Let's do something about it. Then I say, yeah, why not? Then just use my trolley. So then they started the rubbish collection squad, and this became a routine that happening in Boon Lay, that when they are very bored, they will do this thing on their own. Yeah. Then we had things like birthday party. These are actually put together by the volunteers who come in. So at some point, I try not to lead too much, but to support whoever wants to contribute something. Yeah. And I think by this kind of shared sense of responsibility and leadership, I think the children feel that also, that they can co-own this project. They can also be leaders. Yeah. And everybody is basically sharing some sort of responsibility here, and to contribute some the happiness to the whole community lah. Yeah. Okay. I also work with students, Nanyang Polytechnic, because I think about how do we bring in different groups of people to come in and collaborate for that gives a range of exposure for the children. Yeah, because bearing in mind, for most of these kids, they are not able to go to the museum. They are not able to go to the Esplanade, even though there are free activities there. So the exposure can be quite little lah. Yeah. So how do we bring not only activities, not only programs, but who are the people that we bring into their life that can give them a bit more exposure to things? Yeah. So I imagine that we have to bring in young people. So the poly students were in here. And of course, their lecturer was also a volunteer with us. They are from visual communications department. Then seeing the obvious happens. Seeing the obvious basically is a community placemaking project. Yeah, but it's a very visual, there's a visual output to this. I would say that the whole process is basically placemaking, but seeing the obvious had an output. Because I think I felt a bit pressured to have an output, because as an artist or arts group, you don't have an output, you're not sure what is it, and sometimes it's very hard to get funding to sustain the work. So we had the output. Yeah, it's also good for the children to see this. This is actually a play thing that is co-created with the children and the students. Yeah. Seeing the obvious also went to Lengkok Baru. It kind of exploded a little bit because I involved even more people now. I involved the family service center was there to involve the local businesses, the students as well. Because I was thinking, how do we get the community together to think about the children? I think, yeah. Because often, you don't think about them in the daily life. Always like, oh yeah, just go to the site and play. Yeah. So there's Isabel working with the children on pinhole photography, and then painting the murals. This is Isabel's work with the children. So she basically her methodology is that she goes in the neighborhood every day for more than a month. I think about 2 months. I don't know, Isabel, you're there. If you are here with us. Her method is quite different from me. For me, I always, when I enter, I want to make a presence, right? Her presence is very different. She always wear her pink suit. So she's known as a lady in pink. And she always does a little strange things. People don't know what she's doing. Like strange character in the neighborhood, strange presence in the neighborhood, I would say. Then the children are drawn to it. Then they realize that she's doing this magical can thing that can take photograph, pinhole photography. Yeah. So then she worked with them over 2 months, I think, to develop a work that is that we could hang in the public space. These are some of the works that's in Lengkok Bahru that we could put up permanently. Yeah. We worked with, I roped in the kind of local business to ask if we could use that space as a community art space. So like it's a half fruit shop, half community space kind of arrangement. Quite interesting. Now, because of this exhibition was in February this year. Then COVID happened, so there's like a break in between. I think it's time to go back and see what we can continue to do there. I also established I think the work then became about establishing a space, establishing a presence so that you can better connect the other partners to work together to support children development. Yeah. So in Boon Lay, we also start to have a space, Tata Good Kids Club. Basically, it's like Don't Be Afraid of Children Club or Don't Be Afraid Children Club. Yeah. So it's a space, social space, where children can come in, just drop by every day to engage in. We have craft materials, also very free play. They can decide what they want to do based on the materials available or something that they want to share. So, for instance, after circuit breaker, what I notice with my children when they come back is that they miss the friends that they have made in this space, and they want to share what has happened to them during circuit breaker, mainly about what they learned. For instance, somebody learned how to draw better and she wants to show all her friends. There's someone who learned how to play chess and he wants to show his friends how to play chess. Yeah. So how we run TTKC is that we really want the children to run it themselves. That's why you see the boy mopping. Cleaning up is a very important thing in all the activities, even in the playground. How do you get the children to feel responsible that they will clean up the space? I think that's very important in citizenship. Like even for adults, we don't clean up the space. We expect somebody else to clean up for us. I won't go too much into managing an indoor space because I think that is like, wow, another very long thing to talk about. Yeah. Okay. So I think I included this slide just to say that even though the project seems to have grown much, much bigger in the last year or last 2 years, and involving a lot of other partners, the important thing is still how we started is about the individual and his or her relationship with himself and with others. So like, we'll do, during Seeing the Obvious, we still focus on the children. We ask them like questions, when do you start living in Lengkok Bahru? And they also answer a very funny thing. Then he said, I live here every day. Then I'm like, oh, okay. But we don't correct them. We say, okay, great. That sort of thing, and like, what do you like to do in school? This is actually my son. I don't know, somebody interviewed him and he said, I like to go there and laugh at people. So I think what I like to convey is that no matter how large the work or the scale of the work has gone to, it's still very much about the individual. How do you read the individual? How do you read the group and manage it? Yeah, so that whatever happens actually benefit every individual in this community. Okay, I think I'm done. It's a lot of talking. Okay, I'll stop sharing.
Thank you, Shiyun.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Oh my goodness, that was so rich. And like our comment section was just flying. It's like on fire.
I'll just look through the comment section. Yeah.
Yes, it's really quite wonderful. Actually, I really love the way you conduct your research and also the methodology you have with the individual. I feel like it's a very empowering system that you have. And I think I just want to bring up Shamir Bismillah's point where he said that actually what you're doing is very much the Reggio Emilia approach. I'm not going to pretend like I know it, so I'm going to read off Wikipedia. So the Reggio Emilia approach is an educational philosophy and pedagogy focused on preschool and primary education. This approach is a student-centered and constructive self-guided curriculum that uses self-directed experiential learning in relationship-driven environments. And he was saying that it seems like a difficult thing to actually localize, but basically you're doing that. Would you say that? Would you agree?
I heard of the approach. I'm actually not too good with the academic terms, you know. I'm like a street person. I just know how to do it.
No, yeah, you do. It's just fantastic what you do. So Karen Chin has said there's a shared sense of responsibility and happiness. Shamir was saying it's a place of caring and it's also a place of learning. So there've been a lot of really great feedback that we have, and people actually really digesting your approach and methodology. Now it's actually 9 p.m. on the dot. So if you'd like to, it's fine. No, it's so much work there. It was very rich. And as someone that is actually excited to conduct research, I really love the way you research with your disruptions or interventions with material. So if anyone would like to stay an extra 15 minutes, please stay. Otherwise, I'm just kidnapping Shiyun for myself. And I'm going to invite Edmund on the chat, if that's all right. And we'll just have a three-way chat. Hi, Edmund.
Hi. Thanks, Shiyun. Thanks so much. Wait, there's a comment by Savita.
And she says it's so important to be conscious of each child and not approach them as a whole group because each child is unique and has the individual responses and personalities. So your work is really, really, really precious. And, you know, we have some questions between Edmund and I that we'd like to ask. Let's just start with the selection methods, and then we'll take questions from the floor. How did you select the estate or the neighborhoods?
How do I select? Oh, yes. You like this question, I know, Sharda. You like the answer.
Okay,
I don't select the neighborhood. The neighborhood selects me. Yes. So in Toa Payoh, basically, I had this idea of doing this thing. Basically, it started from wanting to bring the arts to the neighborhood, and really into the neighborhood to where children have no access, not even to the free museum programs. Then it happened that somebody was on Facebook was looking for some donors to donate milk powder to this estate. So I got in touch with her, and I realized that she has been walking the grounds. So I just tagged along with her, and then Toa Payoh happened. Boon Lay, I was like moving to Boon Lay, and basically I stayed in Boon Lay in the first 6 years of my life. So it's like going home. And I think I realized from the Toa Payoh project that it's very important to choose a neighborhood that is close to your home. Don't choose somewhere that's so far away, you know, and you can't really, then it's at some point it is not your community. And also because of the way Singapore is designed, when you are actually doing work in a place where you live, you have a little bit more say about things. You know, you can go and call your MP and ask him about something. That's the kind of thing I realized along the way.
No, yes, I do remember why I love that answer as well. Because, you know, being an artist as well, I'm sure Edmund agrees, you get called. A lot of research is also very instinctual. It's not just completely dry and academically driven, right? It's this instinctual part to the process. Edmund, would you like to read the next question from Joseph?
Sure, Joseph. Joseph asks, could you talk more about what it means to read the individual and group and why that is important in your work? That's a great question.
Yes, I'm thinking, yes. I think it's always about the individual. We care about the individual development, yeah. But it's not but that development actually is very dependent on the group as well. Yeah. Because how the group grow as a community will affect the individual. So you can't only just zoom in on the individual and then you work with the individual, especially in community work. Yeah, because it's also not classroom work. I cannot make him stay back. For example, I just talk to this little boy or little girl. Then how would the other community members see this relationship also? So you have to be careful about that as well. So I always use the group dynamics to influence individual behavior.
Maybe if I could also jump in, maybe just to add a different dimension, because I used to teach and do work in the prison. So I use games to measure the group dynamics. We play a lot of games, but then I'm quietly observing who is out of the group and who is in the group. So I think what you're essentially doing is also using that to read what is happening in that space, because it's really the interrelationships between each other. And then sometimes when the people come in together and they just don't want to play, when I go into the situation and then the inmates just don't want to play, they don't want to play any games. And these are all adults. I was playing with adults. And then that's when I have to sit down and sort of have an intervention to talk about, okay, let's talk about what happened. So I guess I'm just looking at your own project. It's probably the same. And then when there was a fight going on, okay, what happened? I mean, you didn't interject and intervene directly. No, but I think your relationship, because you were observing, and that allows them to come back to you for that kind of, I won't say guidance, but because you allowed it to happen. Right? Because in a classroom context, if a fight were to happen, I mean, I used to teach in an MOE school as well, I would have to bring the boy or the girl outside and see the discipline master. And we have to stop the fight. So I think that whole negotiation, the fact that you were there being a witness to what is happening was interesting. So I think you were reading the group.
Yeah, I think this you were mentioning witness is also interesting, because in Toa Payoh, after 3 years, things I run out of ideas and so, but I realized that they didn't actually wanted me to initiate things anymore, but they really appreciated that somebody was there just to witness them play. Yeah, and any problems or any inspiration they have someone to talk to, and I guess that's what they need. Yeah.
Okay, Shiyun, everybody wants to pick your brain tonight, so we've got 4 questions lined up for you.
Who are we going to bring up?
Hopefully we have enough time, but let's bring in Shamir. He's asked, children need time to engage in high quality, unstructured outdoor play. Is there a time when the children in the neighborhood have the chance to have unstructured play?
Is there a time? When I think in Toa Payoh and in Boon Lay, the children still have a lot of time to have more unstructured play, because the family situation is that the parents are not around, so the kids can go out. But in Lengkok Bahru, you see very different. So there are the children who plays outside. There are the children who don't come down unless they have a permission or their helper follows them. So I would say that's a middle class lah. So that's why you see a lot of our neighborhood playground now are very empty, because the children are all very busy. Yes. And I think this is one of the issues that we face in Lengkok Bahru also. How do we sustain? Sometimes it's very difficult, because I would say, helicopter parenting. It's really up to the parents,
So do you do it on a weekday, weeknight, weekends kind of a situation?
Yeah.
It's always on weekends.
We're always on the weekend. So I guess in Lengkok Bahru, one of the objective was also we create a kind of play routine. So between 4 to 6 on Saturday is kind of safe for you to bring your kids, to let your kids come down and play, because there's a witness. There's a presence of adults, but of course we don't, judge them or anything. Yeah, but just to assure the parents, at this time, let your children out for unstructured play. Yeah.
Okay, we have another question. Shall we bring up Karen De Silva's question? At what point in time would you say a shared sense of responsibility occurred with the children in the community? Was there some sort of turning point event that brought about the shared responsibility? And how many group activities projects in that community did it take for this to develop?
Okay, it's a very good question. Every time it's a question I ask myself all the time. So maybe I'll just share a little bit about my role in these projects. So basically, I facilitate. I'm the artist in that sense. I'm also the producer, and also I have to do a lot of things. At some point, I cannot. I can be. I am on the ground. I see it. I cannot observe myself so well because I have to observe so many things. So at what point did it happen? I know it happened. I don't know what point in my project. So I always feel that I need to work with the researcher as an observer. And also I think to challenge me. Or not challenge, I think to witness and to contest ideas on this engagement. Yeah. I think we really lack this, to have researcher on the ground to observe engagement and to help practitioner reflect. Yeah.
I actually agree with that. Because I'm a bit worried about time, I'm just going to go on to the next question. It's from Karen. How can national museums support such projects that connect selves to their communities?
I have no answer now.
Yeah.
Let's think about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
These
Something
two
to think
questions
about.
actually we are looking at some kind of collaborations. Yeah.
Okay, let's go to Amanda's question then. Amanda is a student right now with Edmund in the MA Arts Pedagogy program. What challenges will there be in unifying the children from different neighborhoods eventually? Would that be part of the bigger picture in the context of collaboration? Any particular strategies, particular play strategies?
Unifying children from different neighborhood, what would it mean? You mean like
I guess in Lengkok Bahru and Boon Lay.
and bring them
That would
together?
be too far. Maybe Lengkok Bahru, Red Hill, Bukit Merah, Tiong Bahru. Maybe geographically it's more possible to bring them together. But
It
I
feels
think-
like it could be. We thought about it when we started football in Toa Payoh. How can we do this football league? I mean, between different neighborhoods. It's more like an inter-school thing. Yeah. I think it's quite a challenge because even in the same neighborhood, children come and go, especially in the rental flat. Some of them move out of their parents able to purchase a flat somewhere else, they move out. So the community is actually transient. So even weekly, you are not able to confirm a certain attendance. They come and go, yeah. So there are some kids when I work with, and there are even brothers, work with for 1 year. Suddenly, one of the brother is taken away to live with his dad. So I think even within the same neighborhood is quite a challenge to meet consistently. Yeah. So I wouldn't think about that, putting different. But maybe in terms of digital context, you can think about that. Yeah. Like mobile legend games. Yeah, I think that is possible. Yes, to explore.
Yeah. We've got one question here from Jean Ferry, and she's observed that the focus has been on children's playtime, but one of the things that she's personally observed is that parents don't know how to play with their children, or perhaps don't play with them enough. Have there been any opportunities or intentions to foster parent and child play under your methodology or programs?
I have been very focused on children, because I think when the program started out, we are actually looking at children who are already, their parents are already very stressed out. They have no time. They have to do multiple jobs. In fact, when we started in Toa Payoh, what I really, I feel that the work had certain kind of meaning for the parents is that it gives them 2 hours of me time for the parents. They are like, there's this father who has to take care of his wife who is bedbound and his 2 daughters. So he has no personal time at all. That was the only 2 hours where he could read newspaper. So for this demographic, I feel that we tend to stress the parents a lot also when they are already very stressed up in terms of resources. Yeah. So in my engagement, I actually don't really think about that. But what happened in Lengkok Bahru was that to work with this family service center had intention of how do we get parents involved, because they are also looking at getting community to self support and lead, right? I think then we came with a bit of a tension and conflict, yeah. Because in my work, actually, I feel that I want to engage with parents on a kind of parent level, you know, not playing with children, yeah, and talking about what kind of stress and struggle they have, yeah, not to stress them to play with the children, yeah.
One of the biggest things that I observed about your whole presentation, or what the thought that hit me, was like you're empowering community through playing with the children. So the results of that, you know, hopefully might be that they get less stressed and might actually create more family time. And those are results that we'll never know until we do some research into it. But I felt a big sense of empowerment through just play. We're hitting 9:15, but I'm not going to be such a time tyrant. It's a new word. I don't know if you wanted to have another question in, Edmund, from your side.
I'm just going to raise Karen's observation and comments. She says, I don't work in a museum anymore, but thanks for thinking about the possibility of collaboration. I felt that the subverting in your projects has a lot of potential to make national museums more interesting, more thought-provoking. So I'm going to piggyback on that idea of subverting, because you came into the neighborhood with rolls of papers and all these other things, like you say, to disrupt that space and then to sort of subvert the norms. Did you at any point in time feel like you were doing things that were threatening the safety of that space? I mean, obviously subverting something and disrupting it is threatening, but how did you negotiate that internally for yourself, as well as to negotiate with some other people in the community who might come and say, what are you doing? You know, do you get permission? I'm going to call the police, for example, right? So how do you negotiate that kind of conversations?
I think for me, yes, the worry for the children is that they are too trusting to strangers. Yeah, because we do bring in different facilitators, and you know, we don't wear uniform because I'm kind of against that. I don't want to make it a branding. So we basically come as ourselves. Yeah, and the children it start to get very comfortable with strangers coming to talk to them. So that was a thing that worry me about them. Yeah. The other things about I think the other challenges was, or subverting a norm, had to do more with like town councils questioning what is this activity lah. But actually we don't get much of this because I basically position it very much like play, and at some point when we had a facilitator who does it in a way like one person to 20 children, you know, like one person talking, 20 children following, that's when I get uncomfortable. That's not free play. You know what I mean? That's
yeah.
And I personally don't like it also in a public space.
So how do you tell your facilitator to break that group up into a more improvised kind of a free play?
Yeah, I think that actually happened for the Sang Nila Utama project. Yeah, so it was because Bala himself is a yoga teacher. He's also a storyteller. So in doing that, basically you are 1 to 20, right?
That's
basically right. Listen to you. So then I talked to him that we have to kind of turn it more into a role playing and give more role to play for the children. So we kind of disrupt that with drama. Yeah, so it's not a 1 to 20 kind of storytelling. So, yeah, that kind of dynamics always bring in more suspicions. Yeah.
Okay. Well, keep going, Edmund. He's got thoughts.
I'm just thinking. So maybe I'll just bring in a little bit of a theory, just to maybe frame it. I'm reminded of Donald Winnicott, a child psychologist who wrote about playing and reality. And he says that when you play and when you put your personality into it, you discover yourself. But what was interesting about that theory is that there is, he calls it creative apperception. Creative perception with an AP in front of it, creative apperception, is where cultural experience happens or is located between the self and the environment. So what really happens is when you were doing that and when the children are finding themselves in that space, they are also finding that creative experience or apperception, which means finding their own identities, which is quite strong in your projects. And what is important in that theory, when they find themselves, then they know that they have something to live for. Because the opposite of that, when they're able to live freely, is that when they are not able to live freely, they have to fit themselves into boxes and they have to comply with a lot of rules. Because you talk about playground rules, even in society, in classrooms that they go to, there are a lot of rules that they need to fit into, right? You cannot do this, you can do this, you cannot do this. So I think when you allow that space to happen freely, you give them an opportunity to live freely in that sense, in that concept, right? Creative apperception. So when they have that autonomy and that ownership of their own identities, it gives them a greater sense of belonging to themselves and to the environment. And I think I'm just trying to understand that from a theoretical perspective, and that is a good way of looking at what is really happening in your work.
I think in the children's language that I hear from them is that after a while they feel like when they are with me or with themselves, they feel like a kids gang. I think that is how they express it, what you're saying, because they feel they don't feel like they need to comply to certain things.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
That's great.
Well, thank you so much, everybody. I wish there was a way maybe we can keep all these comments because they're just so wonderful.
Can I make an announcement, Sharda?
Yes, of course you can. It's your series.
I'm just going to bring up, just to highlight to everyone that we do have a LaSalle show showcased by 11 students. These are all the people who are graduating. And if you go to bit.ly.com LaSalle Show 2020, you see the people who are graduating, and Sharda is inside, their own research thesis. All right, so just go there and then you can look at their innovative experiments in pedagogy. And then next week on Tuesday, we have Dr. Ho Chong-shi, who's going to be talking about touching sounds and looking at guqin as an instrument of music, an instrument as music. All right, so if you're free, do come and join us. And if you want to be notified of our broadcast and all, just put your message on your private chat, direct message to us, and then we can put you in our mailing list. How do I remove this thing now?
Trial and error during COVID.
Okay, we are back.
Thank you so much, Shiyun, for presenting to us today. I think a lot of us are very enriched and our minds are buzzing, and you've really influenced me to kind of like get my own research going. And I just love the disruptions. I just love the disruptions with material and everything. Thank you, Dr. Edmund Chow, for organizing this and being here with us today. And thank you to all our audiences as well. We wish you a really good night, and hopefully we'll see you next week.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.